Welcome, everyone, to Natty 19's first entry into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Jonathan Marshall, and before we jump into things, I wanted to get this out. D&D is a game that I fell in love with as a kid, and it has influenced me in so many ways throughout my life, even throughout the years where, for whatever reason, didn't or couldn't play. You grow up, people move, you move, work, school, marriage, kids, life. This podcast is the result of a small group of close friends who have gone way too long without actively playing D&D. We picked up some 5th edition books, we picked up some dice, or in some cases dug out our old ones, and we jumped into this once again, absolutely refusing to let any of those pressures of life stop us. So without further ado, I'm extremely excited to introduce the stars of the show. Joining us tonight, Charlie is going to be playing the role of Quincy Fallow.
It is an honor to join you on this quest.
Also joining us, James will be playing the part of Copernicus Hart.
It's a pleasure to meet you all. Long days and pleasant nights.
And also my lifelong friend, Kayway, playing the role of Zavril Dawntracker.
It is a pleasure for you to meet my acquaintance. I will be signing autographs for my loyal fans at the end.
And lastly, my lovely wife, Christy Lee, playing the role of Erame Finvane.
Finally, I live the adventures I've only read about.
Thank you, everyone. Now please sit back and enjoy Natty 19's take on the Tomb of Annihilation. I'm not even doing a DM screen
I'm
tonight.
so excited.
All right. The salty air had filled your mouth for days now. Leaving Baldur's Gate, you knew, for one reason or another, it would be the last time you'd see the place. Your ship is bound for the mysterious land of Chult, the new craze for all explorers, merchants, and collectors, and with good reason. The jungles are so thick and deadly, most of it remains uncharted and ripe for the taking. For those willing to risk it all, that is. For your own reasons, each of you fell into the employ of the 3 C's Shipping and Freight, a loose company with the interest of expanding their trade by securing routes, rare commodities, and fame. They aren't the best kind of folk, but they're certainly not the worst either. And most importantly, they get you to Chult for dirt cheap, and maybe even get you enough of a foothold to begin your own personal endeavors upon arrival. Considering they coincide with the company's agenda, it should be most fortuitous for all. Except, of course, for Sindra Sylvain, who just so happens to be the one funding the trip. Copernicus. What would Copernicus be doing on a ship bound for Chult? Alright, it's a rather large vessel.
The ocean rather bores me, to be quite honest. So he's probably sleeping most of the time.
So in a bunk, then.
In a bunk. I see why pirates do what they do. If I was out here much longer, I'd probably pick up some pirating myself.
Copernicus, you're laying in your bunk. Bitching to yourself. You're listening to the waves gently beat against the ship's hull. Your thoughts take you back to the Sylvain estate in Baldur's Gate.
The gate.
It began by collecting in front of the large estate, clearly a dwelling of someone with wealth. Alarad, your boss from the 3 C's Shipping and Freight Company, warned you guys to be on your best behavior. Never bite the hand that feeds us. His commonly used phrase echoes in your head. A uniformed attendant leads you up the grand staircase to the 3rd floor, then ushers you into a wooden-paneled room with a fireplace, comfortable chairs, and a heavy table bearing goblets and bottles of wine. A person is seated in an overstuffed chair near the fire. You can't discern a gender because only the person's head emerges from under a heavy blanket draped over the chair, and an embroidered hood and a silver mask conceal the wearer's face. Help yourselves to some wine. And take a seat, friends. I hope I may call you that. And you see your companions there, also under the employ of the 3 C's, shipping and freight company. A large dark-skinned man, wrapped in a thick cloak, standing beside her, watching your every move. All right, so all of you are there.
What is Syndra and Alrod? What are their races? And
Alarad's human, as far as you've known.
okay,
Syndra, you can't tell. When you first met her, you could barely tell that she was a female. But because this is a memory, you know now.
right.
You know? But you guys are all there. You're in the room. You got Syndra Sylvain sitting in a chair with a thick blanket covering her. She invited you for some wine and a seat. So as far as you know, your boss, Alarad, set this meeting up. Syndra wanted to meet you guys, and Alarad warned you to be on your best behavior. His commonly used phrase, never bite the hand that feeds us. You almost mouth it, just like you always do when he says it, those who know him well enough. The large, dark-skinned man steps forward. He looks over you guys one final time before turning to Syndra. She meets his glare with a somewhat apologetic expression. He then turns back to you with a disappointed look, and he says, I risk everything for you every time I come here. And this is what I am to return with, a bunch of children, holding themselves as if they would last a moment in the jungle. Syndra angrily tosses the wine glass, and it shatters against the hardwood floor. Do you think me a fool, Gusan? I will hire whomever will agree to step foot on that god's forsaken peninsula, if it means the end of this death curse. Gusan loses his tension, realizing he had let his stress get the better of him. Prep your ship, Gusan. I will be attending the voyage to Chult. Gusan leaves the room, and the covered woman returns to her seat, collecting her composure. Forgive that outburst. These are troubling times. Where were we?
Before you came unhinged, shattering glasses.
I have no patience for those who question my every move.
Then let's get on with it. Why are we all here?
What is it that you were told from your employer?
Well, I was told that there would be a great opportunity. You see, I've been studying archaeology for quite a while, and I'm quite an adept student, but I'm afraid I haven't been much further than just the hinterlands of Boulder's Gate. So I was quite excited to join on.
Ah, then you, sir, must be Quincy Follow, is it?
Quincy Fallow, ma'am, yes.
Your family has roots in the area, does it not?
They do, ma'am.
Quincy, what is it you seek in the lands of Chult?
Yes, well, I'm almost afraid to admit this is rather embarrassing, but have a dear friend of mine had given me this as a gift before I chose whether or not to come on this mission. And, well, it is a map. It is a map of a place in Chult that I believe is a place of ancient secrets. And it is my hope that while we're performing our mission for the 3 C's shipping and freight company, that I will also come across this place.
Fascinating. May I have a look at your map?
Yes, let's take a look at it.
Well, absolutely. I would love to show you my map. We should do this in our quarters later on.
Are you inviting me to bed with you, Quincy?
Quincy just blushes. He doesn't. Maybe has met people a little crude like that in the docks, but generally has led a pretty sheltered life. Quincy he wears clothes that are just slightly too big for him. Which makes him look maybe even younger than he is, and he's wearing right now brand new expedition style clothes that have not been worn in or broken in at all. You could tell he's fresh. He's a newbie. Looks to be in late teens or early 20s. Like I said, is the fact that his clothes are big makes him look younger, and also that his mustache is very, very thin makes him look young as well. And he keeps his hair parted on the side and kind of slicked over to the side in a very bookish manner.
You are a good lad. I see a bit of myself in you. You will find what you seek. And she then turns to the... You want to describe Copernicus for us?
Let's see how to
Just
describe
a quick
Copernicus.
physical appearance and how you carry yourself, maybe.
All right, Copernicus is a half-drow, so he's dark-skinned, he's fair in the face, he has a high charisma that is a bit betrayed by his voice. And maybe while you're heading south to Cholt and he's pulling at his armor, you can see the scar that goes across his neck where back in the past he was cut. And he is slender build, average height, and getting on in the years. He's 48 years old.
Human equivalent years?
Yes.
Are you wearing a hood at all, or...?
Yeah, he would be hooded.
You, young gentleman, remove your hood for me, please. You sound familiar.
Okay, Copernicus takes off his hood.
Ah, you have the blood of drow.
I do, though I've never been in the Underdark.
There were many great warriors I've known who were drow. Share your blood. What is it you seek in Cholt?
I'm looking for an artifact.
Anything specific you had in mind, or just any will do?
No, it's a specific one.
Ah, then I shall not get in your way. I understand all too well what it is like to pursue such a valuable trinket. She then turns to Zavril.
So Zavril stands before the crowd, the group that's gathered, and you see before you a younger human, light-skinned, brown hair. He's wearing a duster that right now is closed up, so you can't see anything underneath it. He looks to be about his mid-20s, maybe 26, 27 if you're a good guesser. From what you can tell, he's not very bulky, but he seems very agile and light on his feet. The way he kind of gracefully moves around the floor, looking at stuff, picking up various objects. He seems more concerned with stuff inside the room than he does the actual conversation that's going on as well.
And there are plenty of interesting things in this room, especially to somebody of your history. She says, I am not familiar with you at all. Are you from distant lands, Sir Zavril, was it?
Yes, ma'am. I'm from outside the Baldur's Gate area. I was hired on for my expertise in the jungle as I continue to observe the room around us. Not really looking at her as I'm speaking.
She gives a nod almost to the rest of you guys, knowing full well that you wouldn't see the nod. And she then turns her attention to the female elf in the room. Aren't you a cute thing, she says.
My name is Irame, and she will stand up and sort of correct her posture a bit at being called cute. Irame is small. She's pretty frail looking. She's tiny. Geeky looking. There's something a little strange about her. She looks, while appearing meek, she also carries herself proudly. She is got mousy brown hair, pale skin, and just looks to be very respectful of Syndra at this point.
She bows her head as much as she can at this point, and she says, what was your name again?
Irame.
Irame. I need to ask, what makes you think that you would last very long in the treacherous lands of Cholt?
Well, I am an anthropologist. I think that...
I have no doubt in your abilities. You were handpicked because of those abilities. It's just odd to see such a creature willing to throw so much away What is it you seek to gain?
Knowledge, adventure. I would love to discover something new. There's cultures there that have yet to be studied. There's creatures there that no one knows anything about.
Ah, there is no greater purpose.
Zabral's going to turn and look at the elf with the mention of creatures, kind of give a quick smirk, and then go back to looking around the room, just beginning to pace a little bit.
I am fluent in many languages. I know goblin. There's goblins. Did you guys know there's goblins?
There's goblins everywhere.
But no one knows anything about these goblins. There's this, I know Sylvan, Elven. I will prove to be a valuable asset in Chult.
To that I am sure of. Are you guys sipping on, are you guys getting wine? She offered wine and seats. I just trying to get a feel for the room and the setting here. Or are you guys standing in a tense manner? Or
Now, Copernicus would be kicking back in the comfy couch,
okay.
helping himself to the wine.
Yeah, Irame would be sitting up straight, holding the glass of wine so as not to be impolite, but not drinking it.
I know Zavral is still probably poking through all of her artifacts and charts.
And I'm drinking wine, getting in character, actually.
Quincy's sipping the wine. He doesn't want to. He's seen his father drunk before, and he doesn't want to get that drunk. But he's just holding himself awkwardly, trying not to embarrass himself.
You notice a servant woman, very well kept, comes in and cleans up the broken glass off of the floor, pouring Lady Sylvain another glass of wine. And she takes a sip from it, and begins to speak. I understand, to some, anyway, what I'm about to say may seem a bit frustrating. See, we have no real lead on the exact location of the source of the death curse, only that it may lay beneath the ruins of an ancient city, and even that is lost to us, save for being somewhere deep in the wretched Chultan jungle. I'm uncertain of the name, though as soon as we discover the name of this ancient city, it will be known to you. In order to discover this source, I've given your employer a list of unique skill sets that would aid in the success of this discovery. If he has come through on his part, you all as a team should have what it takes to unravel this mystery. At least I pray. And then she kind of lowers her head and mumbles, to whomever listens these days. And at that, Copernicus, you're laying in your bunk, and your thoughts are shattered by various shouts coming from the starboard deck above you. But now we're going to shift focus. So let me ask, what would Irame be doing on a ship bound for Chult?
Absolutely reading by candlelight, probably.
So you're in your quarters, and you've got your book drawn out on the desk before you. What would Irame be reading about?
Any and all information I could find about the peninsula.
All right. So you're poring over one of the books that Lady Syndra had left you to care for. And you're not sure if it was something that you were reading, but whatever it was, your thoughts get carried away to the point where you're not really reading. You know, when you're reading a book and then all of a sudden you have to go back and reread the paragraph because you weren't paying attention or you were thinking of something else. So your thoughts take you to days ahead, a land of the unknown. You were reading about Chult, what is known about it, and what dangers you'll face. You begin to think about what will become of this group that you fell in with. You think about the 3 Seas Shipping and Freight Company, and when you first met the companions you'll be relying on in days to come. It was Warehouse C, your old contact, Alarad. You got his name during your escapade leaving your home city. It was a name that was given to you in not so open a fashion. It was a name that no elf would know from where you live. But because of your curiosities, you've made friends with some of the lesser folk. And while you hold no such prejudices, you knew very much that your family would, so you've kept it to yourself for the most part. Nobody truly knows where you went off to. But Alarad was the name you were given, and that is the one that you pursued. And it was actually all too easy, you suspect. It all flowed too well. You met him, and before you knew it, you were hired. Curiously, you're getting everything that you were asking for, which was a ticket to Chult. You expected it would take years and years, and it had only been several months since you began this quest. So Alarad, your old contact, he had given you a brief summary of the offer, told you that more details would follow should you agree to meet at the old warehouse in Baldur's Gate. Of course you would. That is, you kept your cards close to your chest. At first you were a little timid, to say the least, about your enthusiasm of getting to Chult. If anything, just because you were warned that if you express too well what you desire, it leaves a lot of room for the not so kind of the world to take advantage of you. You had heard that the TSSF purchased this warehouse and planned to renovate the rat-infested place in order to suit their rapid growth. You find it easy enough. You had already been working for them for maybe about a month and a half now, just kind of testing the waters. You hadn't been doing anything much, but you knew that it was your ticket to where you wanted to be.
What's the TSFF?
The 3C Shipping Freight Company.
Okay. Yeah.
It's probably their stamp.
Yeah.
Quincy. What would Quincy be doing on a ship bound for Chult in the middle of the night?
Quincy has spent many nights gazing at the stars and poring over navigational charts, but aboard a ship, firsthand, I get to observe the latitudinal differences as we move and the positioning of the stars change in the sky, and it's so exciting to see all of his studies just come together, and it's fascinating.
So you would probably be up either just out on the deck by yourself, or would you kind of be with maybe the captain or the navigator or somebody trying to get a glimpse of their charts or something like that?
Oh, if they would have me, I would certainly bother them. I would try not to be much of a bother, but to see to see these instruments in action and to see navigation at work rather than just in theory.
So after a few attempts, you were finally allowed to peer over some of the charts, and it was actually quite impressive. Your display and knowledge of the charts really impressed the navigator, whose name is Berkeley. Real gruff man.
I try not to be too presumptuous, but I can't help but, just show a little bit of of my knowledge.
It's like, you got a good eye for the stars, kid. You'll make a fine navigator someday.
And Quincy just beams at the compliment.
After a spell, you find yourself just gazing out into over the dark water, into the night sky. Your thoughts take you back to that rat-infested warehouse that was being renovated by the 3C's Shipping Company. It was where you really first got the details of this job. You had caught wind of it. You had actually pursued it a little bit, the best of your ability, without trying to push too hard. You could tell that your father was hesitant when he first found out that you wanted to go, but he tried to hide it because he knew how great of an opportunity it would be for the family to partake in such a grand expedition of discovery and adventure, and just the experience that, should you survive, that you'd come home with.
I will make you proud, Father.
Opening the old docks was a good move for the company. It was never really your strong suit, doing the numbers. That was more your father's job. But you couldn't help but think about it whenever it was in your face. It was such a large part of your life growing up that you couldn't help but pick up some of your father's traits, like the ability to see an opportunity when one surfaces. And this was a good opportunity for the 3C's shipping company to clean up this warehouse and get it going. They got it out of steel, and they can build it up and begin expansion. The company always seemed to conveniently get you to do more work than your pay demanded, but it was something that you've been used to. And besides, if what Alarad was saying is true about gaining passage to Chult, it would all be worth it. And so far, it would seem to be. A tall, thin man approaches dressed in basic charcoal gray clothing. And at this point, you're standing outside of the warehouse. You are familiar now a little bit with your companions who just joined you in the Sylvain estate just a few nights prior to meet your benefactor for this journey.
Did the warehouse meet happen before Syndra or after?
After.
Okay.
Now, this tall, thin man approaches. Clean-shaven, short black hair. You knew it was Alarad immediately, mostly because of the eyeliner. It looks good, but you could never tell if this was a naturally occurring phenomenon or if he actually donned makeup.
Is this cast by the guy from Lost?
Yeah, Richard.
Richard
Exactly.
from Lost.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, I remember that guy.
On his way over to you, he notices a worker struggling to get a large crate up onto a lift pallet, and he grabs one side of it as the two heave it easily into place. The worker gives a thank you nod and scampers towards another group of workers who are shoveling debris into a large wagon. He approaches you, Quincy, holds out his hand. Quincy, it's been a while. He brings it in for a man hug. How's the old man doing? I don't get to Baragos much anymore to torture the prick.
Father is doing well. Thank you, Alarad.
Good, good. Listen, things are moving quick, so why don't you all follow me into the office where we can talk. We'll get introductions out of the way if you haven't already up at the estate. He begins to take his leave, but then he stops at the half-drow. And he says, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. I'll tell you in the back. And as he's walking away, he shouts orders to some workers on the way by. And he disappears into the office door behind. Who's going to leave to follow first? Let's get a marching order.
I'll follow him right back there.
All right, so I've got Copernicus first.
Quincy's just going to look a little confused at his companions and be like, Are we all supposed to go?
You hear, yes, all of you, let's go.
Then he'll be second.
All right, who's third?
I will walk third.
All right, so lastly, the elven scholarly woman. Just wanted to get a feel for personalities. All right, you're led into a room rather large for an office. There's a desk right when you walk in with papers and scroll cases scattered about it. Alarad sits down at the desk. Close the door, please, Copernicus.
I'll close the door.
He nods, thank you. He motions towards 4 mismatched chairs and pours some coffee into 5 oak mugs. Grab a coffee, guys, and have a seat, please.
I'll take a seat.
Yeah. Coffee.
I'll
seat.
grab a coffee.
So you were all handpicked for one reason or another by Ziggy himself, who you don't know, but he knows you, each of you. I know I gave everybody a brief summary of what's going on. I'm going to go into more details now. From what I understand, you all have your own kind of personal endeavors as we go forward with this. Am I wrong to believe that? I mean, we all have our own personal endeavors, and I understand your interest is also with the company. I'm not trying to get you in a corner here, okay? I need to know that you guys want to do this.
Is there a waiver?
Yes, there is. Let's start with you, Quincy. What do you think? Did you talk to your father about this at all? He kind of talks quietly when he says that.
Yes, Father was hesitant, but he agreed to let me come, and I must say that I would love nothing more. I am very excited to be a part of this.
See Copernicus rolling his eyes, like looking at this guy, this kid. What is he doing here? And looking over at the small elf, and he's getting second thoughts of what he's getting himself into.
He's like, listen, I'm not the one who picked you guys. If it were me, I would have taken one look at you guys. You know, no offense, you know. Every story I hear of this place, it's not good, okay? I mean, it's good, but it's not, you know what I mean? There's a lot of bloodshed.
Quincy rests his hand on the hilt of a untarnished rapier at his side and kind of shakily says, well, I've never had cause to use it in reality, but I'm no slouch when it comes to the training.
He kind of gives a look up to the ceiling, and he looks back. He says, all right, you know what? I told your old man that I was going to treat you like any one of my employees. So I guess I'm just going to get right down to it in the name of business. All right? So anyway, we should start off with some easy things, okay? By now, you've already met our benefactor, Sylvain, correct? And at this point, he looks to the door and makes sure that the door is closed.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So if you don't know, she is a bit of a bigwig, okay? A lot of people don't know her by name, but she's been there and she's done that. Was never in it for the fame, okay? Some would say that she is as cold as ice and no detail gets by her. She's also one of the most wealthiest people in the realms. However, with this so-called death curse, her health is waning.
Tell me more about this death curse.
You're all pretty familiar with the death curse at this point, to one degree or another. You caught wind of it, and then it's kind of crept in here and there in your travels. Anybody who dies stays dead. There is no revivification magic that is successful. And that's pretty much it, you know. It's kind of gotten the realms in a little bit of an upheaval. A lot of people are beginning to question their beliefs in the pantheon. A lot of people believe that the gods had turned their backs on them. However, deity powers are still prevalent. So a lot of scholars are calling that blasphemous, and that they should still, if anything, reinstill their faith in their deity.
Yeah, maybe if they believe harder.
Exactly. You know, so there's all sorts of politics around it. You have various groups believing different things for whatever reasons, but nobody knows the truth other than the source of this death curse, in which you just discovered from Lady Sylvain, is somewhere deep within the jungles of Chult beneath an ancient city. What that source is, you don't know. So he continues. She already told you what she is paying us for, but let's be honest, in between us, okay? And I mean no disrespect, the 3 C's shipping and freight ain't gonna be the ones who save the world, okay? However, if we play our cards right, we all get what we want in the end, and none the wiser. The real job. Alright, the TSS is growing quick, but the Merchants League, while poetic and just, is inadvertently limiting our progress. Long story short, we want roots in Chult. Your contact when you get dockside in Port Nyanzaru is a company man by the name of Daniel Devitas.
Devitas.
That's right. Yeah, so when you get there, Daniel Devitas is going to meet you dockside. He's a good guy. He's got the company's interest in the forefront. Okay, he's going to take care of you guys. We sent him out there maybe about 9 months ago, just to kind of set up, get a little bit of a base of operations going for when you guys arrive. So he should be well established at this point. We don't have very good contact. We do get monthly reports, but they're usually rather brief. So if you don't mind, when you do see Daniel, can you let him know that we would like a little bit more details in these reports and a little less fruit juice on the paper? You'll understand when you meet him.
So what exactly are we being hired for?
They're looking to expand. They need trade routes. They need contacts. They want the Merchants League, just to give you a sense of the dynamic that's going on. Merchants League is a group of merchants that came together and forged an agreement to make merchanting more comfortable for everybody. It's similar, it's like a union, okay? So nobody's undercutting each other. It's a controlled market. There's designated routes. Everybody gets a fair share of everything. And while this is generally prosperous for everybody, sometimes it can get in the way of quick progress, especially when great opportunities come up and you have to share the slices with everybody else. So while the Merchants League is honored for the most part, most merchants involved tend to, off to the side, under the counter, make deals here and there to try to get ahead, so there's all sorts of, light treachery involved. Nothing too sinister.
So then the 3C's shipping would be a part of the Merchants League.
Yes, they signed the agreement. Yes.
Okay.
And while they do, to the best of their ability, follow the rules, they know that Chult is outside of the realm of the Merchants League. It's kind of like up for grabs. Not necessarily up for grabs, because there's other competition also heading there. They want, essentially, you guys to go there and have a presence there in this new place.
It's still like lawless, essentially.
Yeah,
It's like
for the most part.
Yeah.
It's definitely not well established anyway. There's only one real known city, and that's Port Nyanzaru, and that entire peninsula. So there's a lot of undiscovered area.
Imagine like it being similar to the Dash for the West,
A new land with new resources.
That's right.
New peoples.
Yep. New trade routes, new resources. They want all of it. Anything and everything that will benefit even fame. Even if you guys make discoveries in the name of the 3C shipping company, that that's worth a lot. I keep wanting to call him Richard now. Alarad.
We can rename him.
Ricardo.
I like Ricardo.
He says, look, I'm telling you what we expect. Who you want to talk to for detailed missions, that's going to be Daniel. Once you guys get there, he knows the lay of the land already. I can't tell you much more than that. He already has his little grubby paws in the infrastructure there, okay? So he's going to be able to get you guys set up and get you guys working, probably from day one, immediately. Does anybody have any questions before they agree to this? Because there will be a contract that you'll be expected to honor. And of course, you will be paid for this. You'll get weekly wages.
Quincy's scribbling all of this down on a piece of paper that he keeps rolled up in his shirt pocket. He's just writing down the name, the Daniel Devitas, the missions for the 3Cs.
Did you get all that, Quinny?
I do believe so, Mr. Copernicus, sir.
Cappy's fine. When he says wages, Cappy kind of sits up a little straighter.
Alarad quickly moves on. He says, I understand a lot of us know each other, all right? I want you guys to know you're going to be relying on each other, okay? So secrets, probably not such a good thing. I've seen too many crews fall apart at the seam because, well, someone or all of them weren't shooting straight. Now, for the most part, I've known each of you guys for a time, some longer than others, admittedly, but in case you don't know this Zavril guy, he's a hunter and a writer whom tracks and records bizarre beasts. He'll be a great asset when you reach the jungle. Very proficient at what he does. Isn't that right, Zavril?
Hearing people talking about Zavril, he's got to look at Alarad and kind of open up the duster that he has to show two whips hanging on each side of his body. I'm fairly decent with these, as he moves his right hand and kind of pats the whip on his left side. I do have one question.
Absolutely.
Any discoveries we made, such as maybe some trophies that we can bring back? In per our discussion prior to this, we had talked, and I hope that not all of this will be the company's discoveries. I personally am here for fame, and I would like to be recognized for taking down any of the more rare animals.
Oh, of course, absolutely. This was, as agreed upon, this was printed into your contract, Mr. Zavril. You will get as much, if not a little more, fame, of course, recognition, renown than the 3C Shipping Company. Our name will just be in their small print, maybe underneath yours. If you'll agree to it, of course. Like I said, it's a contract. Everybody's got to sign it. It's got some things for us, things for you.
Zabral's gonna take a drink of some of the liquid in front of him and put his leg up on the chair. So, as long as we're still in agreement about that. I know the company likes to claim some things.
Well, you insult us. We'll always pay what's fair.
And then the other part of our agreement, this book I have, after visiting Chult, it should be completed.
And we will publish it as promised.
Ah, you are a writer, Zevra.
I'm more than just a writer. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of me already, of course. I have had a few of my works already published.
I'm afraid my education, though broad, has been too focused on the studies my father considered gentlemanly. Perhaps I've missed the opportunity, but I would love to see what you've written.
I'm sorry, I don't give sneak peeks to the works I'm currently in the process of transcribing. However, if you'd like, there are, I'm sure, several copies of my previous works located throughout the cities. If you catch me in a good mood, I might be willing to autograph that for you as well.
Perhaps when we return from Chult, sir. How long does the journey take from Baldur's Gate to Chult, to Port Nyanzaru?
It should only be a few nights at sea. You could get there by land, but...
At sea? We didn't say anything about taking boat. I thought we were going to be teleporting there.
We were gonna do that. That's the way it was written. It was written to teleport there, but we believe in more traditional methods of transportation.
I'm not a big fan of the sea. Ghastly beast.
Well, I hate to sound like a bumpkin, but the idea of being teleported just simply frightens me.
There will be no teleportation. I mean, we are lucky for the passage by ship.
Both modes of transportation sound exciting.
There was the option to go by land, but that just would have taken way too long. I mean, you guys are looking at months out.
You afraid of a sea monster? I thought you liked creatures.
Grotesque beasts. I can't deal with them. Plus the waves. Oh. I'm going to start holding my stomach, kind of getting an uneasy feeling already, as I have to take my leg off the chair and kind of get a firm footing on the ground.
Not to diminish the majesty of these wonderful ships, but most likely the only creature we'll encounter are shiprats.
Alarad, at this point, moves over to the half-drow.
You wanted to have words with me?
Says, I just wanted to let you know that everything is taken care of.
Excellent.
Gives you like a prolonged stare.
So all records of my leaving will be erased, I assume.
Yes, and the good news and the bad news. I presume you want to hear them?
Yes.
The good news is your deeds have pissed off the Flaming Fist considerably, to no end. I mean, that was great. The bad news is they have a large force in Chult, so you might want to keep your head down.
I'm trying to get out of here to get away from the Flaming Fist. I don't want to run into a whole nest of them.
Here's the thing, though. These guys aren't going to know your face, all right? They might catch wind of your name, so that's why I'm giving you a heads up now. But these guys,
He looks down. He carries a buckler, and it's emblazoned with a large black heart on it.
if they catch wind of your buckler, I mean, like I said, they're days and days across sea. I mean, they have their own problems that they're dealing with over in these mysterious, uncharted lands. I think you're going to be small potatoes. But just the same, I wouldn't do anything to upset them because, well, then your history might get churned up like a bowl of broth. You get what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
Butter would have been
A bowl of broth with some chicken in it. I'm getting hungry just thinking about this.
My dear, who eats bowls of butter?
who churns broth.
Just Get me out of this city as quick as we can, and I'll handle any trouble we run into in Cholt.
I knew you would. I think you're all gonna do okay. Yeah, I think you're all gonna do just fine. He almost seems like he's trying to reassure himself.
Quincy is absolutely nervous. He's never been outside of Beargost and Boulder's Gate and the road between, but he's gonna try to appear confident.
Roll a deception check on us? No.
Should I? I could roll a deception check, see what the rest of the party, picks up from that. An 8. I guess that would be against your insight or perception or something.
It would be insight, yeah.
A 12. But he doesn't say anything.
So at that, the memory fades to the sounds of shouting coming from the starboard side of the ship.
Oh yeah, back to the boat. I forgot we were on a boat.
Yeah.
You're all doing your things. Zavril, what are you doing on the ship when you hear this?
Zavril is being sick over the side of the boat. He despises water, being on water. Gets seasick very easily.
Through your vomiting and choking, you can make out sounds of shouts coming from the other side of the ship. You were on the port side.
What's the other side called?
Starboard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Starboard and port,
You guys
right?
got to learn your nautical terms.
Then the aft's the back, the bow's the front, correct?
Right.
What kind of draft do we have at a boat like this?
It's a 6-foot draft on this ship.
Excellent.
That's as far as nautical terms go, that's it. Okay. All right, so you lift your head up from vomiting off the side of the ship to the sounds of shouting. And you, Arame, you're back to your book, and you feel everyone that's down inside of their quarters feels a tug, an unnatural tug on the ship. All the small objects in your quarters begins to shift or even slide across the desk. In some cases, some things might even tip over. And the boards moan and creak as this happens. And those topside, the first thing you notice is this strange illusion, I guess, for lack of a better term at the moment, of the water level dropping. What do you guys do?
Irame will, as she feels the unnatural tug, she'll grab the candle that slides with it and head towards the deck.
All right.
Quincy will look at say, Berkeley, are we being upheaved?
You see Berkeley's got his eyes out across the dark water. He says, I've felt this before. Wasn't expecting it until morn.
Copernicus will hop out of his bunk and make sure he grabs his bag of stones and head up deck.
All right, as you're heading up,
What?
I never leave home without my bag of stones.
he's a weird guy.
I have my bag of stones.
Bag of rock.
Yeah.
As you emerge topside, you're coming out, and you notice off the starboard side, rising from the ocean surface, it almost looks like craggy cliffs emerging from the waters. It's as if the ocean itself is draining, revealing this mountain beneath. This loud, I don't even know what kind of sound. It's almost like a rumble.
Is this some kind of geological feature?
You hear shouts coming from all around. Bring those sails down. Secure the rigging. Are you trying to lose my ship? And as you guys are all kind of coming out and converging onto the deck now, you notice behind you there are some guys dragging out chests of coin and looks like treasure. You've all seen booty before. You see one chest dragging out, and then another, and then another. 5 chests all come out and just lined on the starboard side.
Booty's a nautical term, too,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, fuck. Thought that was just a pirate term all around.
How many knots are we traveling at, would you say?
That's a good question. I don't know all my knots very well either. I know the bowling.
You said the water's dropping, so what's the fathoms? How many fathoms do you think it is at this
What
point?
about,
You can't even fathom how many fathoms it is. Otherwise, I'd tell you.
Do you know what a flying bowline is?
No, but I know what a dragon bowling is. That one's been played on me before.
I learned what black lights were the other day. What they used to cover.
I grew up in the 80s. Okay, I know what a black.
No, it was what they used to
Had a
cover.
velvet poster.
All the lamps and
To
shit.
cover the windows and openings of ships during cannon fire.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I like it. I like it. So one by one, chests of loot. They're stacking them on the starboard deck, and you're just kind of looking around what's going on. And behind you, there's a presence behind you. And right as you feel this presence from behind you guys, because I'm picturing Quincy is maybe in a different spot on the deck, but I'm picturing the rest of you guys are all kind of just coming out, and you're looking over the starboard side, and you kind of move to the side or maybe even split to allow these chests to come out from behind you. And as you feel someone come up from behind you, a loud roar emits from the dark waters. Like a... You can't tell if it was is it a language of sorts, or are your ears playing tricks on you? Copernicus and Arame, you feel a hand on each of your shoulders. And you turn to see Lady Sylvain right behind you. And she says, "Steel yourselves. And be patient. And most of all, be respectful."
What is this?
It is the King of the Sea, here to collect tribute. It is essentially why this trip costs so much, and why many seek a benefactor such as myself. And now it is time for me to do my part. And at that, you look out into the darkness, and you just see a massive, where that mountain is emerging, it's now kind of slowly circling the ship. And everybody is just fixated on it. And as it's kind of moving around the ship, everybody's just following it, with their heads. And you hear the captain. "You honor us, your grace. Accept this tribute for safe passage through your waters."
Well, I think you got chapter 1 for your book.
Zavel is going to, I guess, forget the fact that he was actually feeling sick a few moments ago and pay close attention to this creature and try to get closer to the side of the ship.
Are you using your...
Hunter's sense.
Alright, so what you can quickly discern of this creature using your keen senses, you know that it must have a breath weapon of sorts, being of a dragon heritage. You assume it's a steam or some other type of water-based attack. You can tell that it's got a tail attack, claws, bites. This thing looks like an extremely formidable opponent, should it ever come to it. Obviously, being of turtle nature, breathes air and water.
You have a
And-
picture for us? Ah, yes.
So there it is.
My grandfather told me of these stories from his time working on the docks. He said sailors would tell him stories of this thing, but I never quite believed him.
So what does it do? It just eats all the gold?
Imagine the treasures beneath the ship we're on right now.
A wealth of kingdoms below us.
I always wonder what they hoard all that gold for. It's not like there's a dragon market where they can go spend it.
As you guys are discussing this, give me a quick perception check.
20.
17.
6.
20.
Everybody with 15 or above notices as the final chest is set down on the deck, a single coin falls out of it onto the wooden planks.
Any, qualities that we can recognize the coin for? Is it just like
Common gold piece.
Does this king of the sea require exact remittance?
You see Lady Syndra give a hand motion, and these two sailors grab a hold of the first chest, toss it into the water, and you see the turtle dragon begins to move a little quicker. And at this point, the ship itself is beginning to kind of spin.
We should make sure that fallen coin gets added to the gift.
Irube will run to the coin and toss it into one of the chests that has yet to be tossed overboard.
Okay. As the fifth chest drops into the water, you see the turtle stop, and the boat is still kind of turning from the residual whirlpool, and then the ship slowly comes to a stop after a bit. You guys can't help but continue to gaze at this thing. It's really awesome.
Magnificent.
Irube will push her glasses up her nose and stand with her hands on her hips, watching it.
And at that, as the final chest falls in and it stops and it just waits, you're not sure what it's doing. It's just kind of waiting there. And then finally, as if it gives a large nod, its head submerges, and then the mountain begins to slowly submerge down into the depths of the sea. And everybody around you seems to relax a bit, as if it's a tense moment all the time, every time they make this trip.
The debt for our passage must have been paid.
Quincy is shaken a little. I could feel himself his hand shaking just a little bit.
And at that, Syndra says, "So it would seem, Copernicus. So it would seem." And she turns and goes back down to disappear into her quarters.
Quincy will approach Erme and say, "I do believe there is an ancient text called the Council of Worms that explains why it is that dragons collect treasure."
I've never read it. I must. That was my first encounter with the dragon. I've read much about them, but to see one is amazing. Irme is full of excitement and vigor for this adventure now.
At this point, you hear Berkeley pipe up from the side of you. "Well, speak, boy. What is it?"
I'm afraid that's been one of the books that I have not been able to read. Every time I go to check it out of the library in Boulder's Gate, it's already checked out.
He goes, gosh, damn it. He's like, "You piqued my damn interest only to let me down." All right, everybody back to work.
Is it something to do with their young? Apart from D&D lore, I feel like you know what I mean?
Talking about dragons, why they
Yeah.
collect gold, they sleep on it, and that's how they get XP. And grow.
I've heard
From a mechanical
in
standpoint.
a lore of a different kind at some point. I thought it had something to do with their eggs or something. Dragon eggs.
Yeah, yours is way more romantic than mine.
Yeah.
You sleep on it and go up levels. I mean, what?
Well, it's like Smaug. He was just greedy and wanted money, but it was for what? Dude, what are you going to do with it all?
Maybe that's quite the metaphor right there. I mean, the
Right.
dragon is the metaphor for our greed.
Yeah. I guess it is a human idea and concept.
in mythology they were representing greed with the whole golden virgins and all that other stuff.
Oh yeah, I forgot dragons liked virgins too. That's right.
They do?
Yes,
didn't
they
know
do.
that.
They
know that.
absolutely.
You like to eat them, right?
What
Yeah.
the fuck?
Or yeah.
Which cultural dragons are we referring to here? Because there are several different cultures. You know?
The ones in Supernatural.
The supernatural culture dragons.
The highest pinnacle of culture.
Sam and Dean Winchester have fought them many times.
And here we were talking about token dragons. I mean, God, now I feel embarrassed. All right.
I'm sure Zavriel's heard of the Winchesters.
Fought alongside them, I'm sure.
No, sorry. It is not.
Yeah, I have no idea what the Winchesters is. They're supernatural. All right.
It's
Is it like Twilight
It's
or
not
something?
bad.
No,
It's not
it's
bad. I'd watch it over a lot of things, honestly. Yeah, so that was that. If there's anything else you guys wanted to get done, you've got another night. You can rest up, and if there's anything you wanted to work on or anything like that.
Zabril is going to head down to his cabin and pull out some parchment and start sketching the creature that they had seen in the sea, along with making some accurate annotations about the beast itself.
Very good, very good.
Quincy is going to. He was a little shaken seeing the giant dragon turtle, so he's just going to. It's now the reality of the danger of this mission is really starting to encroach upon the excitement. So he's going to practice his sword maneuvers a little bit, his fencing maneuvers in his quarters.
Very good. What is Copernicus doing at this point?
I think he's probably scouting around the ship a little, maybe striking up a game or two.
Looking for mutinies.
Looking for
Trying to
mutinies.
sniff out a mutiny.
No, maybe like, he can't help himself. So maybe he's checking on like where the goods are, if there anybody's, guarding the storage, looking for maybe some free rum or free snack down in the hold.
There's a few drunk sailors singing some. Fuck, I know this one.
Shanties?
Shanties, thank you.
They drank the women and fucked the wine.
Exactly.
Hoorah.
That's right. A good one. I was stuck on it. I was like, I know there's a fucking nautical term for this. You're able to find a drink if you don't mind the company that comes with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's more his speed.
What is Arame doing?
Irame is going to try to talk to Sindra Sylvain. Not particularly about anything. She's just going to spend the evening trying to get closer to her. She's interested in her because she's so well traveled, and Irame is the beginnings of an adventurer. She's curious.
All right. Yep. So you go down and you knock on her door, and it opens. She says, "What is it, child?"
Perhaps she asks if it's true that Sindra has been brought back from the dead via magic.
Come in, sit with me. And the door closes.
Yeah, as we get closer, Quincy just wants to make sure he has his stuff in order, make sure all of his equipment is accounted for. He has his pack configuration right. He's just really nervous. He just really wants to do the right thing. He really wants to make sure everything goes according to plan, that he's as prepared as he could be.
All right. So you take inventory, make sure everything is where it should be. And eventually, one by one, each of you falls asleep. You wake up on the day of 14 Nightall. Sun is high above you now, and you hear the shouts. Port Nyanzaro!
Land ho.
Irame is going to burst from her room and run dramatically to the ship end and lean over the edge, excited for adventure.
On
Then
top
maybe a
of the world.
Then maybe a seagull hits her in the face, and she's like, "This is gonna be hard."
Zabril is going to, as he's walking out onto deck. He's going to look over at, however you pronounce his name, Copernicus, and tell him not to forget his bags.
Thank you for the advice.
Well, I hope you have your bag of stones with you, Cappy.
I do, Quinn. Thank you. He's always kind of playing with them too. He'll be, like those balls that you rotate around your hands to keep your hands agile. He's always doing that, or maybe like trying to juggle them, and we'll drop them half the time. But
Berkeley comes up next to you. Port Nyanzaru, the bastion of civilization and commerce in the savage land. The amount of business that unfolds here and the cash that moves through its counting houses would make any merchant of Baldur's Gate and Waterdeep jealous.
She is beautiful.
He's like, well, boys, I wish I could join you portside. If I'm to be honest, I'm envious of the land adventures. Although we get plenty at sea, I don't get any at all on land. Oftentimes dream and wonder what it's like.
long days and pleasant nights, my friend. Safe travels.
I will be docking here shortly. I must say it's been a pleasure, boys.
Thank you, Berkeley.
Been a few days you guys have been together. It's small, small area. Figured you guys bonded a little bit.
It would be great to have Berkeley with us.
What's the I know we're not really doing alignments, but what's your alignment?
Well, we're doing
there?
alignments.
You're just asking straight out?
Yeah, do you not want to say? No.
No.
Asking out of character?
Yeah, out of character.
What is
Okay.
your alignment?
What is your alignment?
Are you good or evil, lawful, chaotic?
Yeah, Quincy seems indifferent to the moral questions of the universe. He's mostly engaged in the moment and in his maybe a little bit self-absorbed with his own life, a little bit preoccupied with his own, ambitions and fascinations and stuff. But he's more in the moment. He doesn't have any moral drive. He's not driven that way.
So neutral.
Yes.
Yes, very neutral. I like it.
And as far as the gods go, mortals and the gods just should not mingle.
Man of science, then.
That is correct.
The gods are real, Quincy. Very real.
I do not argue their existence. I just do not think much good can come of depending too heavily upon the gods when they have their own drama. Do you happen to worship a god?
None in particular, but I don't go out of my way to offend any either.
Well, I hope none of the gods have taken offense to my position.
No, I wasn't implying that.
What about you, Zavril? Do you worship a deity?
I do not believe in them personally.
Not even in their existence? I've met many people that do not question the nature of divinity, but most would not deny their existence.
I've never seen a god. I've never seen these divine beings, these entities that bestow their powers upon the world. Therefore, I cannot believe in them.
Aye, fair enough.
It'll be something to put in your book, though, I bet.
That beast in the water we fed 5 chests of gold to, that was almost godlike, wasn't it?
That was quite a fantastic creature for being so beastly.
What a presence. And you, Ereme, we've been discussing our deities and whether or not we believe in them. Do you follow a deity?
I was raised to, but I find myself believing in peoples more than anything else. If anything, we can have faith in people to behave as their culture dictates, and that's what I believe in.
Not a lot of strong faith on this team.
No, we seem well aligned in that department.
Then we shall rely on ourselves and our skills together.
Wise words.
You appear in a tropical city under the blazing sun and the familiar sounds of a harbor. Creaking ropes, slapping waves, heavy barrels rolling across cobblestones. They all mingle with voices shouting and cursing in an unfamiliar language filled with clicks, inhalations, sing-songy words that make a sound almost musical. The aroma of unfamiliar spices and tropical fruit mixes with the wharf-side smells of fish, tar, and canvas. Beyond all that, Port Nyanzaro is an explosion of color. Buildings are painted in bright shades of blues, greens, oranges. Their walls are adorned with murals portraying giant reptiles and mythical heroes. Every building sports baskets and clay urns of colorful flowers, where they're draped in leafy, flowery vines. Minstrels in bright clothing, adorned with feathers and shells, perform on the street corners. Multicolored pennants and sun awnings flutter atop the city walls. A crowd of children dressed in feathered hats and capes races past you, squealing in delighted terror as a street performer, costumed as a big-toothed lizard, stomps and roars behind them. The whole city seems to be bustling, sweating, laughing, swearing, and singing.
And we see these giant lizards, these beasts, are they common?
Yeah, I mean, now that you're getting off the ship and you're getting familiar with the sights and smells and sounds, the first thing you notice is these beasts of, they're peppered throughout the scene. Took a little bit, your eyes adjusted that these aren't actually common beasts of burden that you've grown accustomed to. They're actually massive lizard-type creatures. A couple now that you see with riders on them that are on the two legs, and they're scampering through the streets.
The stories were true then.
Are they like velociraptors with saddles? That's what I'm kind of picturing.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Others are on large, slow beasts walking through, some are on quick little ones.
Irame
little
wants
saddlebags.
to immediately switch her clothes, go trade her clothes for something that matches the environment that she's in, but is the equivalent to what she was wearing immediately.
You see Syndra now step off the ship. You guys had got off first. As she approaches you, or as she was heading towards you, she's greeted by a native, a well-dressed native. And she takes one look at you guys and then back at the person who greeted her. She appears friendly with, very familiar. And she takes one last look at you guys and then back to her friend, and then she begins to walk off with her friend. Yeah, and you guys are kind of left on the port. It's easy enough to find a market stall selling all manner of clothing, and it's all very colorful for the most part.
I'm going to scan around and see if I notice anybody who's actively looking for us. We're supposed to meet Devatas here at the docks, so...
Yeah, are we supposed to find him, or is he going to be waiting for us?
He should be waiting for us.
Let's do a perception check.
Natty 19.
Natty 19!
First one of the fucking pod.
I got a 19, but it was not natty.
Okay.
Fucking poser.
All right.
In an 18 for Irame.
Yeah, so scanning the crowd, you notice almost simultaneously a short, plump human in his mid-50s, apparently. His hair, crazy, his balding hair. It's like his hair is like a crown, and where his hair is,
Danny
it's just
DeVito
sticking
hair?
out. Danny DeVito, exactly.
Is he cast as Danny DeVito? That would just be great.
He approaches you guys almost simultaneously, and you see he's got some sort of an exotic fruit in his hand, and it's got a few bites taken off of it. And he looks at you guys, and he goes, Daniel Devatas. You guys, I've been waiting for you. Which one is you is Quincy?
I am Quincy. Quincy Fallow at your service, sir.
And he holds out his hand. He almost grabs your hand. It's got, fruit juice on it. And it's sticky.
Ew, dude.
And he notices it. I'm sorry about that. And he wipes his hand on it. His shirt is just sweaty. He looks extremely uncomfortable, but you wouldn't notice it. He's very jolly, and he doesn't appear to be in any sort of discomfort, but he physically appears uncomfortable.
Oh, and Danny DeVito was in Romancing the Stone. So
That's
it
right.
kind of comes back around to, yeah. He's done this kind of role before.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. Romancing the Stone.
It's an older movie.
You gotta check it out, bro.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Check it out,
Put it
man.
on my list.
Yeah. So he's like, listen, I'm glad you guys are here. Okay, I'm going to take you back to headquarters, and then we'll get set up and we'll put you to work right away. If there's anything you wanted to do before then, now's the time to do it.
I think we've all got something here to take care of, Mr. Devitas.
You can call me Daniel.
Daniel, yes, I believe my friend here needs to do some shopping. I have a chest full of equipment that needs some storage.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll get one of my guys on it right away. And he looks back, and there's no one behind him. He's like, God damn, where'd they... I'll tell you what, the ship's going to be in port for another hour, okay? I'm going to take care of it. Trust me. We'll bring it back. I'll tell you what, I'll wait here. If you guys want to go get any supplies, I'm sure you were told how hot it was going to be in this area. So obviously, if you got any heavy armor, it's not going to help you. Okay, so maybe you want to buy some light armor, some light clothing. I'll set you up with supplies, any kind of supplies you're going to need for any sort of planned expeditions. But we've got some other things we got to take care of before we get to that point. I'll explain everything once we get back to the headquarters.
Is there something you recommend for the heat, for the sun?
Oh, that's another thing. You see him, his fruit, when he doesn't have a piece of fruit in his hand, he's got a tattered fan that he's fanning himself with. It's tattered and beat up. Like he had put a lot of miles on it. You know what I mean? He says, oh yeah, absolutely. I'll get you guys set up with some fans. I know a guy who's sells really good fans.
That's what I imagined, but if it will do. Yes, Quincy trusts Devitas completely, and he trusts that the gear that he has in his chest is going to be fine. He has no reason to not take Devitas at his word. So yeah, he has nothing specific he's going to look for, but he's going to tag along with the group while they're doing their shopping.
I pretty much came with everything I think I need, which is looking at Cappy's, he has scale mail armor, his buckler shield, and a backpack that's stuffed. There's a tent on the side of it, rope, grapple hook.
Yeah,
You see some torches sticking off it.
So yeah, as you guys are exploring the various market, you hear merchants of all types shouting out, "You get your insect repellent. This is the best insect repellent you can get." All sorts of stuff going on. You see a lot of little pets for sale. You see this stall with little flying snakes buzzing around, and the guy's playing with them. And he says, would you like a flying snake? It looks good on you. One of them lands on your shoulder. Looks good. Oh, he wants to go home with you. When you buy it, only 2 gold pieces.
Zavril, do you recognize this kind of creature?
Yeah, I don't think Zavril has seen a flying snake before.
Does it have wings or does it just...
It has wings, yeah.
Okay.
Cappy has seen him. Familiar with the Zentarum.
Yeah, they aren't native to Chult, although this type is a very colorful type. Other than that, yeah, I mean, there's fabrics, bolts of cloth and dyes and all sorts of neat things and tapestries, pottery.
Irame's gonna go into the market and just essentially, as far as aesthetics go, come out dressed so much almost like the Hawaiian shirt thing. Just dressed so much like the people in Chol, it looks ridiculous.
You blend right in with them. Right on. Let me sap up your bill here.
You look fantastic, Arame. I should ask around and see what the gentlemen wear. on special occasions here in Schultz. I only have my traveling clothes with me.
You look around, you see the most common wear is like a robe with a rope wrapped around the waist, a tabard.
Yeah, I want one of those big bamboo hats. Keep the sun off me.
Copernicus, it seems that the rest of us have some sort of study or some sort of academic pursuit that attracts them here. Do you have an area of study that interests you?
An area of study? Many things interest me. I've been around for a while. You may have seen me around town. I've worked at the docks for quite a time, and loading, unloading.
My grandfather worked at the docks.
What was his name?
Francis. Well, his peers called him Frankie Fingers.
Fingers.
You know my grandfather.
Yeah, I think I knew him. He was a decent fellow. But, yeah, I mean, truth be told, if Cappy was working at the docks, it's because he was smuggling shit for the, Thieves Guild. And if you knew Frankie Fingers, Frankie probably worked, your grandfather probably worked for the Thieves Guild, too.
Well, I never quite knew why they called him Fingers. I just always assumed it was because he was missing a couple.
Ah, man, with no fingers, it's no way to live.
I imagine it would be hard to fondle your stones.
It sure would. Maybe when he's twirling them around, you'll see sometimes they start to glow like a purplish color. And I have no weapons, you would notice. Just a buckler shield.
A shield and these stones that occasionally glow.
Yeah.
Are you some kind of caster?
I dabble in dark arts, you could say. What about you, Elf?
Irame is going to play with her glasses, which she always does when she's nervous, and kind of dodge your question altogether. I am just a librarian, essentially. I've studied my whole life, other cultures. I think that the only reason Lady Sylvan has chosen me is because of my linguistic abilities. My father was an explorer before me. That's
I bet he never made it this far, though.
No, he didn't. And she's going to pull out a compass that her father gave her while she's talking about him and look at it and say, no, he never made it this far.
But you're following in your father's footsteps.
I hope to.
That is admirable.
We're all looking at K-Way.
Yeah.
Zavril, those whips. How does one choose a whip as his primary weapon?
Did you grow up playing Castlevania or something?
I did. I always preferred a whip. It's a lot more agile and fluid. You don't need power. It requires skill.
I'm afraid my own weapon training is rather old-fashioned. The gentleman's sword. And I just unsheaths just a couple inches his rapier.
His brand
spanking new shiny rapier that looks like it's hardly ever been used. Maybe sparring or something like that, but it's definitely shiny. It's definitely been well oiled and well maintained.
I can't wait till you guys are all dirtied up in this jungle. I have a feeling this place is going to change the lot of us quite a bit.
I feel quite dirtied already in this oppressive heat. So so as far as looking for clothing or something, and I don't necessarily want to buy anything right away, but I'm trying to get a sense of what people might wear to a more formal event. I don't know if there's anything that he could tell from just walking around the streets and stuff.
Give me a perception check.
That would be 8.
8? Yeah, in the time that you had walking through the market and gauging just the general populace, you couldn't really discern what the proper attire would be for such an elaborate event of sorts. Really, the only thing you got out of it was what is most commonly worn in the streets.
While they're looking through the markets, I just kind of want to listen to people and just kind of hear conversations inside the marketplace, what people are talking, if anything exciting has happened, any rumors, any like major news events, stuff like that.
All right.
How people kind of feel of the corporation taking or the company, kind of moving in here and setting up like a forward base camp or something. And it just kind of like general stuff you would hear people conversing about.
All right. Just give me a perception check.
All right. Natural 20.
Nice. Yeah, so what you hear most of is fairly uninteresting until after a bit you were listening for a few keywords, and while you didn't hear anything about the 3Cs shipping and freight specifically, you have caught wind of a few other merchant companies that had moved into the area, trying to establish themselves. The names are unfamiliar to you, but while you're doing that, you do notice something else. A follower of what appears to be the god of Tempest, trying to spread the word to a small group of locals. And you didn't think anything of it at first, but the man wasn't well received. They didn't do anything to hurt the man, but you heard laughter and kind of mocking, and people would walk away from him, and he took it well, almost like as if it happens all the time.
Right.
And that's what you got from that. Other than that, you heard rumors that the next big dinosaur race, the dino races, is what people called it. It should be in a few days here. And you hear some excitement, some buzz around it.
Dino race, what's that?
And also, you hear some other buzz in the while you're listening for that. You hear someone like, "Yeah, that's great and all, but I'm more looking forward to that gladiatorial match coming up. That's my guy gonna be in that one." So, you catch wind of a couple events coming up here shortly.
Gladiatorial match. Quincy, you could really work on that rapier skills.
Well,
Could dirty that thing up real quick.
perhaps I could observe the swordsman in the pits, as they say.
So, if anyone's keeping track of days, the date is now currently, since you arrived in Chult, it's going to be 14 Nightall.
Is night all a month?
Yeah, it's the equivalent of our December.
Wait, so it's only going to get hotter?
One of the silver linings of leaving is you guys are just dodging the winter bullet.
We left before winter in Boulder's Gate.
Yes.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when you guys left maybe like 10 days after the Feast of the Moon was the last real festival that you guys partook in. As a matter of fact, Boulder's Gate was still had lingering decorations up and lingering litter from the Feast of the Moon as you guys were leaving. But okay, so as you guys were scanning the market, you hear some commotion coming from over by the docks where you left Daniel Devitas. And you turn to look, and while you don't notice Daniel Devitas anywhere per se, only because what catches your eye is one of those large beasts of burden appears to have broken free and is now rampaging right towards you guys.
Oh, shit sticks.
And we're going to roll for initiative next time.
That's an adorable face. That should definitely be your author's photo on the back of your book.
Looks like when Charlie huffs the fucking spray paint. And Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
So then mine should be enough.
So, all right, fine. Yours is enough.
What did you say?
Yeah.
I said, it's a pleasure to make all. Wait.
It feels fun. It's on the spot. It's being on the spot. Because it's at a game, it makes it a fucking.
I can't think of a goddamn thing to
I said, it's
say.
a pleasure to meet you all. That's all I gotta say.
It's a pleasure to meet you all.
That's okay. All I can think of is, for some reason, is a whole new world, and that's like from Aladdin.
I love Aladdin.
It's an excellent film.
I love that you called it a film. It's a fucking cartoon.
Right. And how should I introduce you?
Yeah, I don't get a lifelong
Christy?
friend or anything. I was just
I was wondering about that.
fucking.
What did you get?
And my beautiful
James.
wife.
I had to switch it up a
And
bit.
my
It was
beautiful
getting
wife.
redundant. And my name is Jonathan, and I will be your dungeon master. That is the master of dungeons, as they would say.
Now, is that a Craigslist dungeon or
It's like an old Yahoo chat applet dungeon. You ever go into one of those on accident?
how do you go into one of those on accident?
I was young and into Dungeons and Dragons. I saw Dungeon Room and went in. Ended up with a gag ball in my mouth.
Learn a little role play. Really broadened your role play experience.